This video is going to explore the probability of events happening.
First, we need to become familiar with the language of probability. These are words that we're going to come across within questions. So a trial is the act of doing the experiment. For example, if I said that I flipped a coin 4 times, my trial is 4 because it's the number of times that I performed the experiment. Therefore, the definition for experiment becomes the act of carrying out an action. So in my example, flipping the coin. Now the outcome is the results of that. Well, if I flip a €1 coin, I either get heads or I get tails. So outcome is the result of a trial. Some trials will have multiple outcomes, others not so many. And then basically all of the possible outcomes is referred to as the sample space. And I'm going to show you examples of sample spaces in the video.
So now let's look at the probability of rolling a 6 when you roll a dice. Well, that's very simple because it's the probability of 1 in 6 because only 6 appears once. Now let's look at the probability of an even number. Well, we have the choice between 2, 4 and 6. So that gives us a probability of 3 in 6. And again then, the probability of an odd number is 1, 3 or 5. So that's going to be 3 in 6. And they both break down into 1/2. The general rule is that we say that the probability of an event E is the number of desirable outcomes over the number of total outcomes. So the total outcomes here is 15 because it's 5 red and 10 blue. And what we want is the probability of a blue. So what we say is that the probability is 10 in 15 and that breaks down into 2/3. Let's take this question for example. You're going to need to know the makeup of a deck of cards for this. But in a deck of cards, the probability of a jack is 4 because there's 4 jacks in a deck. And in our deck, there's 52. So let's write that as a probability. So the probability of a jack is 4 out of 52, or more specifically 1 in 13. Now let's look at the probability of finding a heart. Well, there's 13 hearts in a deck of cards because there's 13 hearts in the suit of hearts. So let's write that as a probability. So the probability of a heart is 13 out of 52, or more simply breaking down, it's 1 in 4. Based on the previous 2 examples, see if you can find the probabilities of the events in task A, task 1, task 2 and task 3. In task 1, you've got a series of different coloured sweets. So in the boxes here, write in how many red sweets, how many blue, orange, pink, green and so on. And you base it off the colours here. And then you're going to say, well, what's the total number of sweets in the bag? If one sweet is chosen at random, what's the probability it's red, pink, blue or pink, not red or black? And then down here, you've got the letters in the word Killian. What's the probability that A is selected, I, a vowel or a consonant? So you might need to refresh your difference between vowels and consonants. And then task 3 is just about a class consists of 15 boys and 10 girls, and a student is chosen at random from the class. So first of all, you need to figure out, well, if there's 15 boys and 10 girls, how many is there in total? And then you want to find the probability that a student is a girl and the probability that a student is a boy. And remember, every time you're finding probabilities, you put it in its simplest form.